This area shut. This area shut.
Hi there. You know Saturday?
Yeah. Hi.
And so then, we go there, got the new stuff, and I started off and then,
Seeing you on videos, etc.
Gary finished the
Oh,
show.
of course. Oh my gosh, I've heard so much about you too. I really love them.
I was so glad she did.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing it.
Yeah, you love.
Oh,
Hi.
Nobody else will use it. We said, what's up?
Hello, sweetheart. How are you? I know I was to represent every representative. We had our share, including had a sale. Right.
Travis.
And also like,
Can we do that? There's no light here. I need to. At least the sun will be there.
yeah. Yes,
Okay, good Shabbat, everyone. The sunshine is streaming in after the snow yesterday. It is very nice to have you here this morning, and I'm sure there'll be more people coming later. And it is a special Shabbat morning with a lot of things being done and being said. And someone asked me already, are we going to finish before 4 o'clock? I think we'll finish before 4 o'clock. But I certainly don't hold it to the normal noontime ending of services. So we're going to start, and again, if you don't start on time, it becomes even harder to finish on time. So in our Sigurim, page 65, morning blessings. When was this supposed to happen? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan esabri binah v'la'achim v'gimel v'layla v'olam she'asani b'tzalmo v'olam she'asani Yisrael v'olam she'asani b'echorim v'olam v'kef ivrim v'olam Lavi sharami v'olam Akira surim v'olam Zokeh v'olam v'olam v'kol ha'aretz ha'lamayim v'olam she'asani Sarki v'olam Hametim v'tzedek gamer v'olam Ozir v'olam v'olam v'olam Anotei v'yahweh koach v'olam v'namei v'tumam me'achapai Putnino yom l'ched l'chesed l'rachamim v'enecho v'enecho v'roi Gomer chasadim tovim l'yamo Yisrael. Continue on page 72, the Psalm for Shabbat. Hayam yom Shabbat kodesh, bo yu beit hamikdash. is more surely on Shabbat. Sadik Namoy Frah, Eres Balvan Yeske, Shituliva, and the Hatzarot, and Yahu. Oh, the November say, God, the Shani running in you, Lahakit, Kiasha Adonai, Sorry, la la. Reading ahead. Next to page 81, Psalm 30. למען ישמח ולא ידע, אדוני אלוהי, ולעולם עבודך. Page 83, Baruch Shamar, Baruch Shamar, Baruch HaSev Bereshit, Baruch HaOmer V'Yosef, Baruch HaOzer U'Mekayim, Baruch Merachem Ha'aretz, Baruch Merachem Ha'alabriot, Baruch M'Shalem Samatov L'V'Yahav, Baruch Aleah V'Kain HaLanetzah, Baruch Madeh Matzil, Baruch Shalom Ha'el Rahman, Amulavu V'Yamo M'Shabbat M'Vargoshan Chasidim Levi'm, Melech Moshe Shemo Haggadol, Baruch Adonai, Melech Mehulal, We turn ahead to page 87, Psalm 19. Lamanatseach Mizmor LeDavid. Barak Levi'm, Meshiva Nefesh, Eidu Karoim Mincha Machalachi, Ugrida Yesharim Mesofei, Mitzvah Peremer Atenayim, Mirap Adon Adon, Mishpatim Loyemet, Tzavku Yachanda. Yerushalayim Yehi, Yodim Lefanecha, Adonai Tzarei V'Goali. Psalm 34 on the next page. LeDavid, Meshach Yotam Olivim Melech V'Yishavayim Tamid V'Hivdavi. L'chovanim shemuri rak Adonai halamechem mi'ha'is v'chofetz chayim ohev yamim l'rako netzar lashon ha'meira usatecha medaber irma sur me'ra v'yaseito Bakesh Shalom Ve'Rochehu Enehu. V'Adam Shabbat V'Lo Yeshmu Kol HaChosim Bo. Psalm 90, the next page. Tefillah Moshe Yishvat Elohim, Arnon V'Avodah V'Trem V'Melado V'Rasotehel V'Melama V'Melado. Turning ahead to page 100, join with me in chanting joyously Psalm 150. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. God strong, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, shofar, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, to my God, hallelujah, to God, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah, to make my heart, hallelujah, hallelujah, to hallelujah. Kol haneshamatim hallelujah, kol haneshamatim hallelujah, kol haneshamatim hallelujah, hallelujah, kol haneshamatim hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch turn ahead to page 104. Nishmat Kohai Tevarech et Shemcha Adonai Eloheinu Barach V'Basor Tevarech Amen Tevarech Amen Min Olam V'Yad Olam Ha'Chael. Mitzrayim me'atanu Adonai Eloheinu Mibeit ha'avodim v'ditanu v'ra'azatanu v'salachokatanu me'shem hitzatanu me'develatanu me'chalei Ephraim v'ne'emanim v'litanu Areina azaruna rachamnecha azarunu asadecha v'yakishenu Adonai Eloheinu ha'netzach. Nehalecha, Moshe Morecha, ונברך את שם קודשך כאמור לדבר מועכי נפשי את אדוני בבוקר אדוני את שם קודשך האל ונעזומות עוזך הגדול בכל שמך הגיבור לנצח הנורא ונורדך המלך היושב בכיסא רם ונישא שוכן על מהרו וקדוש שמו וכתוב על הצדיקים אדוני לשערים נבדהו לפי שערים כתליו Udivurei tzadikim tiporach, v'vashlam chasadim tifromat, v'kerkedoshim tikadash, v'halal v'vodam kavit Yisrael. Al kol Shirot v'tishbachot, David ben Yishai, Chacham v'shifeto. Yishtabach shimacha le'ahad malkeinu. 106. Rachot v'rod me'ata v'yad olam baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech Adon v'tishbachot, Elahod Adon niflaot, Adochem asher zimra, Melech ha'olamim. V'yekadal v'yekadash v'herabah, v'yamad yivrachi r'kei v'yamdif machutei, v'chayechon v'lovet Yisrael, v'agalo v'zman karib, v'yemeru amen. Yehei me'rama mevorach, ve'amra me'oraya yevarach, v'yevarach v'yishtabach, Yipor v'yikma v'yitnaseh, v'yitnadar v'yipaleh v'yitnalosh v'mir kodeshah v'revu, v'elam mikol v'chata v'shirata, v'shvechata v'nefemata, v'ha'divan v'yodoma, v'yemeru amen. Page 107, Baruchu. The call to worship as the Kihilak, Kedoshah, and never take those words for granted. Holy Community. Baruch hu Adonai Amelorach, Baruch Adonai Le'olam Voed. Sounds like we have a choir here. We do. Please be seated. We continue the bottom of the page. In here, honor of him, in July, the Chol, in Hel, Heaven's good to go in the Mother Mashiach, and the Father, she knew, let me top of page 109. Let us Shabbat Mikol HaMasihi. Yitbarach Moshiach Asher Ma'aseh Yadecha V'Rosh Hasita Yifaru B'Selah. 110. And Yitbarach Serenu L'Akeinu V'Leinu Kulam Rovin, Kulam Rovin, Kulam Rovin, Kulam Asim Be'imar Atzakolam. Kulam we have in the Shabbat, the Shirah is a rock, who are King or Shabbat, where you want to take a mock the Shimu, not listening. Kashay Rahel, and the Halam, Kadoshu, Kulam Hakaleh, when you should tell us that I kish the Yatsuram and Nakabruach. As we're up to the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh, Adonai, Zebaoth, Malach HaRes, Rosh, Kadosh, B'nasi, B'nasi Rabin, B'natav, Shafim, Yamrein, Baruch, Evan Adonai, B'nat Kohav, Over Hadash, Hatziyahun Ta'ir, Benisketa Fulan, where Alil Ro, Baruch Adonai, Yotze Hamirot 111. Avarava Hakanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem Hareinu Toratecha V'Mlozotecha V'Havienu L'Shalom Me'arba Kanfot Haaretz V'Tolicheinu Gulmiyot Gulmiyot Le'Matzeinu Ki Elpo V'Yeshuvatata Uvanu L'Charta V'Kolam V'Lashon V'Keira V'Kanu L'Shimacha HaGadol Serah V'Yemen V'Hod Alecha V'Liyachedecha V'Liyachedecha V'Yahava Baruch Adonai Havochem Emo Yisrael V'Yahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad V'yachaka et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavecha V'b'chol nafshecha V'b'chol yadecha V'hayu advarim ha'ela Asher hayovim etzarecha Hayom ad levavecha V'shinatam levanecha V'nimartam V'shitacha b'beitecha V'v'lechtecha v'derech V'v'shapacha v'kunecha V'v'shaktam li'ota yadecha V'hayu l'kavod b'einecha V'v'chakha V'zuzot b'eitecha V'v'isharecha Vayomer Adonai Moshe Lemor Gabel Bnei Yisrael V'mata lehem V'esu lahem tzitzit V'nidhel Doratam V'nanu Tzitzit V'chanam V'til V'chelen V'haya lechem V'tzitzit V'ritem Otos V'artem V'zot Adonai V'yasichem Otam ולא תטורו אחרינו, ואתם יחריניכם אשר אתם צועדים אחריהם, ולמען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותיי וקדושים אלוהיכם, אני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Emet v'yasim nachon v'kayim v'yashav v'ne'eman v'avimah v'zomrim v'lovadov v'yamishmor kayim v'yisod achor v'chotav v'yamnotav le'ahad kayamet v'dvarav chayim v'kayamim. K'em she'tachur ha'levoteinu, malkeinu v'lavoteinu, v'zmenu Yisrael, zechudenu b'neinu v'asaleinu v'elam shemecha, el Elohim zulatecho, Ezrat avoteinu v'tohu, Le'olam 114. כי לא Shalom, Baruch Borach, Moshe v'Nezro Shira, V'Simcha Rabbah v'Yamru Kulam, Mi Hamocha V'Elim Adonai, Mi Hamocha V'Elim Adonai, Nora Nilado Shira Hadasha, Shira Pugedule, Shimha Sabayam, Yahar Kulam, Hodevidu, Ve'amaru, Adonai, Lo, Le'alamoed, So Israel, Kumab Israel, Israel, Israel, go Aleinu Adonai Tzavot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, Sha'al Yisrael. We continue with the Amidah. We do the Amidah together through the Kedusha, beginning on page 115b and beginning on page 117. You complete the Amidah prayers on your own at your own pace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagidol Hagidol Ha'ara El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Konei Hakol V'zoher Chasadei Rabot V'mevi Go'el V'nei L'man Shemo V'yahava Melech Odrefakenu Shiu Magei Baruch atah Adonai Magei Abraham V'Magei Sarah Gadol Gibor Elam Adonai V'chayei Mekim Torah L'Hoshia V'Shivoro V'Rid HaBashem V'Chayei V'Chesed V'chayei Mekim Rachamim Rabim Samech Nofim Rafeh Cholim V'Tir Asirim V'Kemoto L'Shem Yakar Michamoch Abal Gibora Umidon Allah Melech Bebi Chayei V'Matzliach Yeshua V'Ne'eman HaChavayot Meitim Baruch atah Adonai V'chayei HaMeitim Mekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam K'Hashem Shema b'Shemota v'Shemem Arom K'Katuv Hayad V'Yecha K'Katuv Hayad V'Yecha V'Karozeh V'Amar Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh Adonai Tzavot V'Lo Haaretz Kivod Azbachol Rash Gadol Adi Rachazah K'Mashemim Kol Minasin L'Masrafim V'Matam Baruch Yanehu Baruch Yelor Adonai B'Makom Makenu Toviyah V'Nilach Aleinu K'Hakim Anachnu L'Lah Makahai Kimloch B'Tzion Makahai Kimloch B'Tzion V'Karov Yamin Le'Elam V'Tishkon V'Tihit Kadal V'Tihit Kadash V'Tof Yerushalayim Yircha V'Tof Yerushalayim Yircha L'Dor V'Dor L'Dor Ulenetzach netzachim V'einenu tirena malchutecha Ador v'shireu zecha Ayere David, Mashiach Tzidka'acha, Yimloch B'Ne'elam V'Lahayim Tzion V'Dor V'Dor, Hallelujah. Let him ולא נגיגון לכל, ונצח נצחים ונשכחת מהקדש, ושיבו אלוהים ולבואן, כבנו שבת ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. As we complete our midnight prayers, we're going to continue with the Torah service on page 139. En kamocha Elohim Adonai, v'yehem k'ma'asecha, malachut eva malachut, kol ha'amim, u'menshavtecha, u'ador ma'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch, le'olam moed, Adonai ov le'elohim, Adonai yivaret, v'tamot ha'shalom. Abarachami, etiva v'tzorah, etzion. Ibnei Avot Yerushalayim, Ibnei Avot Yerushalayim, Kila Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shema. You may be seated. Okay. Okay, the Torah portion this morning, for which we have a number of congregants reading sections, is Bo. It's the kind of central portion of the, in a sense, perhaps in a broader sense, in the book of Exodus, but especially the Passover narrative. We've been reading of the struggles between Moses and Pharaoh, Moses' doubts and his struggles with his own people, the story of the first plagues, and now we have the 10th plague, the destruction of the firstborn. We can talk about all the moral questions about that at some other time, but we read of it, Pharaoh, at least for the moment, accepting that he has been defeated and God's sovereignty over the world. If I'm taking care of your thunder, I apologize, but that's going to change. So anyways, and so then we read of the first Pesach and the first observances and the first actual coming out of Egypt. And it's a very inspiring reading to do. So I especially invite you to follow the text. And as you read it, relate in your mind to Passover, to the Seder. I mean, in a sense, when we read this, we know that Passover is coming up. From some people, they say, no, I don't want to think about that yet. But okay, but some people have to think about it because I can assure you, that maybe not on Shabbat, but tomorrow they're going to start continuing making matzah. So you can have it for Passover. Okay.
So if you want to follow along in the Chumash, we have two different ones. We have the red ones back there, which is called the Eskayim, and we have the blue ones, the Hertz. So if you're following along, in the Hertz, the blue one, page 258. In the Eskayim, you start on page 387, chapter 12, line 29. Here's Jovio Game Yoshia, the Chol Chavisimbo, Vinoma, Amen. Akol Havu Godel Elohim, Utuno Kabbalah Torah, Kahin Torah Yahamod, Yehesko, Ben Abraham HaKohin, Ruach Shinotah Torah, Yemo Yisrael, Kedushato. Father,
כי אין בית אשר אין שמנת, ויקרא למשה ואהרון לילה, ויאמר קומו צאו מתוך עמי גם אתם גם בני ישראל, ולכו עבדו את אדוני תדברכם, גם צאנכם גם בקרכם, קחו כאשר דיברתם ולכו וברכתם גם אותי.
Amen. Ta'amod Rachel Bat Chaim Yosef Halevi Valeah.
Baruch et Adonai HaMorah.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai HaMorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Ya'olam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו, Baruch atah Adonai, notei haTorah.
ותחסר מצרים על העם, למהר ושלחה מן הארץ, כי אמרו כולם מתים. ויישא העם אל בצקות ויחמץ משעותיו, צרורות בסבלותיו על שמם. ובני ישראל עשו כדבר משה, וישאלו ממצרים כלי כסף וכלי זהב ושמלות, ואדוני נתן להם את הארץ בעיני מצרים, וישנו וינצלו את מצרים.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan לנו תורת אמת, ולחי עולם נתן בתוכנו. Baruch atah Adonai, notei haTorah.
Ta'amod Hashaluka Badelehu Lev Shalishi. We happen to be on page 388 in the Blue Book, line 37, and on page 259 in the Hertz Blue Book. 388 is in the red sky.
Baruch Adonai Hamdor Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher Mikol ha'amim, v'natan לנו את תורתו. Baruch atah Adonai notei haTorah. וייסעו בני ישראל מרצי סוכותה, כ600,000 חגים, הגברים לבניתו, וגם ערב הבא איתם, וצאן ובקר מפני כבד מאוד. ויופו את הבצק אשר מוציאים מצרים, עוגות מצות כי לא חמץ, כי גורשו ממצרים ולא יוכלו להתמנע, וגם צידה לא עשו להם. ושב בני ישראל אשר ישבו במצרים 30 שנה ו400 שנה, ויחיו מקץ 30 שנה ו400 שנה, ויחיו בעצם היום הזה יצאו כל צבאות אדוני מארץ מצרים, לשמור קול אדוני להוציאם ממצרים, מארץ מצרים. והוא הלילה הזה לאדוני שימורים לכל בני ישראל.
Yomandu, Yehoshua, Ben Abraham, B'Sarah, B'Fumokana, Badhaya, Elka, Riviyi. Ta'amod, Achana Fega, Baruch, Yitzhak, B'Sarah, Basha, Kavishi. We're on page 391 in the Etzchaim, chapter 13, line 1. In the Blue Hoods, we're on page 260. Same chapter, same line. So it works. Yes.
And then the Hayelu on the top, it's a Baruch Adonai,
King Oswald.
We're going to pause now and do a Mishnah for members of our congregational family, friends, anyone you'd like to feel would need help by saying a prayer for renewal, health, and strength. Let's continue first. Let's begin with the prayer that we chant.
May the source of blessing send a perfect healing, a healing of body, a healing of spirit, and let us say Amen. May the source of strength bless those who need of healing, with renewal of body, with renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Yishmar Halakeinu Amram Yisrael Yaakov, Zerah Zerah Leah, Yirah Leah Cholim Ha'ileh, Ben Yehudi Yosef Ben Botza, we had a wife, we had refreshing ball, we had power kernel, we had Chayim Adlei, Ben Bachikitil, we had Rabbi from Lorraine, we had Leonora Sandoval, we had Casamarata, we had Shalach Melez, Halevi, and Tibor Sarah, we had Chick Bush, we had Paul Shield, we had Mark Goldberg, we had Menachem Zev, and David Mordechai, we had Hannah, we had Labat Yocheved, we had Yehuda Dina Bat Hayabay, which also selling, we had Dixie Dane, we had Sarah Vidala, we had Miranda McCoy Bat Zakim, we had Rafa Bat Rivka Efe, we had
Don Castleman and John Steele, Bach Shintona. Billy Ronnie Summers and Frank Case. Joe Carroll, Tim Leo. Cheryl Wilbur, Jerry Wilbur. George Sandberg, Rosario Yama.
Anyone else?
Peter Blasky.
You know, we all may not hear, but the Kodesh Baruch Hu will, and that's the important thing. Ve'yakol ha'milchua ha'kodesh Baruch Hu yifrei v'yatzilei v'yirei mi'ana v'tin ha'bracha v'atzlacha v'ruchua v'chol ma'aseh yadayhem v'nomar Amen.
Yamandu, Yashiyahu Bemelev, Shishi.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaMavorach. Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Adonai Notein HaTorah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaya olam, notav v'techenu. Baruch atah Adonai, notei la Torah.
You're going to do Shalom Bova Ben Avram Chaim B'Fuma Bat Yaakov Shvi'im.
השכח לאדוני, וכל פתח וכל פתח, עמוק תפתה ושא, אם לא תפתה ואחדו, וכל בכוך אדם לפניך תפתה, והיה איש על חברך המלמוד מחזור, ואמרת אליו, וכל זה כי אדום סיענו אדוני במצרים, מבית הבתים, ויהי כי כשחרו, ושמחנו, ויעבוד אדוני כל בחוק בארץ מצרים, ובחוק אדם ובחוק בחוקה, על כן יזובח לאדוני, כל בית ארץ מצרפים, בכל בחוקם, בני את והיה לאות על ידך, וכשחות הידיך, היא בחוזק יד, וסייע לנו
İskilab iskilashmi Rabba. Yama Dika Kusin, Yamlik Bakusin, Bakai Kon, Yamikon, Bakai, the Kon base Israel, Bagalavas Bakuri, Yamu, Amen. Isme Rabba, Yama Yamaya, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Yisbaba, Kusha, Ariyamu, Leila, Vinkomokata, Vishirata, Tushpakata, Vinekamata, Damiyam Yama, Yamu, Amen. Ya Amar, Ravani, Benita, Kavivka, Mafkir, Hava.
Menachem, I need you back here.
Saved by Menachem.
Menachem, you have to do maftir too. Second time around. This is an encore. Okay. The word is finished.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayeh olam ha'Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haTorah. Amen.
Should I say something about it? Thank you.
Ya Amor, Ya Trianu Ben Melech, Hamaviyah. Hamaviyah. And Tahamon. Yantaleh, Benjamin, Agaleleh.
Olena. Ada. Just one little way down. lifted up, we will rise, and then we will do 2 special Yishuv. Okay. Please rise. You may be seated. The Haftorah is a reading from the prophet Jeremiah. You will find it in your Hayim beginning on page 395, and in the Hertz on page 263. Josh said I was moving down. Okay. Okay, before the... we're going to do 2 special Mishaberachs. One for all who have who participate in the Torah service, and then we're going to kind of start the special part of the programming for the special Shabbat. So, okay, one more. And this is a special Mishaberach for all who serve the community. All the Levi'im, you might say, being honored today. Mishaberach Avatim Rosaryakos, their Hololia, the Horakahol Kahal Kadesh, having told the Lord and the Hola Sherlahem. Mishayachadim Batem Rashad, Mishlam the family, Palel, Mishlam the Father him to the Kalianim, Homish Oskin, and Sakhet, to surround him now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishalem Sachram Yisemihem Kavakalam Yipal Haluham Yisklach Halukalam Yishlach Halukalam Halukalam Seidim Wazrahayan Amen. May Yahweh bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Decoration, Leah. Bless the entire congregation, them, their sons, their daughters, their families, all that was theirs, especially those who devote themselves to the success and the prosperity of our Kahal. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, forgive their sins. May God bless them and make all the worthy endeavors prosper. And let us all say, Amen. Especially forgiveness.
If you're following along with the Haftorah, you can find it on page 395 in the Red Chatzayim. Or if you're following along in the Hutch, you can find the same thing on page 263.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'dim tovim v'rasa b'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboker b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo v'bi ha'emet v'tzedek. Hadavar asher diber Adonai el Yirmiyahu hanavi lavo Nebukadnezar melech Bavel v'nachot eretz Mitzrayim hagidu Mitzrayim v'yashmigu v'nigol v'yashmigu v'na'od u'tachtohen imru Yaster aken la yakla eretz v'ileta madua yisham avirecha lo amad Adonai hadafo ir balako shel gam nafal ish el rebu v'yomru kuma v'nashuva el amenu ve'el peres molatenu et Hereb Hayonah, Karusham, Paro Melech Mitzrayim Shaon, Evir Hamodeh, Hayani Nekum Hamelech, Adonai Zevot Shemo, Ikedavo Becharim, Carmel Bayam Yavo, Kelegolad Asila, Yoshevet Bat Mitzrayim, Kino, Shamati Ke, Stame En Yoshe, Egla Yevej Yam Yitzrayim, Keres Sahon Bava, Bava, Gam Sekivreha Vekiva, Melei Narbe, Gam Hema, Hipno, Kasu Yakao Amadu, Yom Edam. Ba'alehem et nekudatam Olam hanahash ele Gil hagil yelpud U'arfud ba'ulav Gil et sin Kartu yara Me'um Adonai Lo yehaker Irabu me'arbe En lahem mispah Obisha Mitzrayim, Ibna Be'ad Am Safon, Amar Adonai Sebaot, Elokei Yisrael, Hine Moked El Amon Mino, Ve'al Paro Ve'al Mitzrayim, Ve'al Eloheim Ve'al Melachea, Ve'al Paro Ve'al Avotim Bo. Untati Beyad Akshe Nasham Yad Velukar Brishar Melech Babel Yad Havadam and Arekem Bishkom Medkedem Melum Adonai Beata Al Iram Abde Yaakov Al Tehad Israel Moshiacha merachok, Etzarecha me'eretz Shinyam, Shad Yaakov, V'shakad v'sha'anan, ve'en machari, Ata al tira, Adi Yaakov me'um Adonai, Kikani, Ki, Se'alav ve'kol hagoyim, Asher Udakika Shama Kalo Ese Kala Misastika Kamishpa Benake Lo Nakecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sur kol halamim, tzadik b'kol haderot, ha'elan ne'eman ha'omer v'yosef, המדבר חיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבריך אחר לא ישוב ריקם. כי המלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון מבית חיינו, וללופת נפש הושיע במהרה בעינינו, ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, ואליהו הנביא עבדך, ומלכות בית דוד בשמך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסא לא ישב זר ולא יתעלו חוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קדשך נשבעת לו, שלא ייתן נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים על יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ומנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הטוב, אדוני אלוהינו נתנו עמה, ומרכיב איתך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Noah, we haven't forgotten how. Okay, we put away the Levi'm for now. We continue with the prayer for our country and for Israel and for peace, starting on page 148. Okay, call up Karen Jacobs to lead us. Prayer for our country.
A prayer for our country. Our God, our God of our ancestors, we ask your blessing for our country, for its government, for its leaders and advisors, and for all who exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insight from your Torah, that they may administer all affairs of state fairly and peace and security. Happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony, to banish hatred and bigotry, and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom, and helping them fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore, and let us say, Amen.
We continue with the prayer for Israel, top of page 149. Call upon Rachel Russell to lead us in that prayer. Oh, I'll give you one. Well, you. Okay.
Bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend your holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say,
Amen. We continue now with the final prayer, a prayer for peace, God's most precious gift.
Responsive prayer. So we start on the prayer for peace on 149. May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, and a great peace will embrace the whole world. and nation will not fight the nation, and mankind will not get no war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassion, God, bless the leaders of all nations with power and compassion.
Fulfill the promise contained in Scripture, and will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of its disease,
And it shall not be ravaged by war.
Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. Let peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say,
Amen.
It is indeed special to look out and see so many faces looking back at me. And it is indeed a special Shabbat. Because it's time, it's appropriate to take time once in a while to recognize and become more aware of how many people are involved in having a synagogue function. It's not just the rabbi, it's not just David. There's so many groups, so many involvements, the physical building, the financial aspect, the running of the school, the cemetery, all these things are part of what makes a synagogue function. And it functions even for the rest of us who may not be aware of it, may be transparent. So a while ago, and if you may have read this in the epistle that came out a couple days ago, this started with the idea of kind of honoring David, our Gabbai, and he kind of said, well, it's not just me, it's so many people. So it kind of morphed, as you can see, or you'll see very soon, in honoring those both past and present and also past, who really made Temple Israel what it is. So a lot of people got together and made a list of who all should be involved, and hopefully we found everyone. And I was going to make this announcement at the end, but I might as well make it now because it seems appropriate. If somehow we left off a name inadvertently, we apologize. And it's certainly my hope that with all of the emails back and forth talking about all the people and all the things that they've done, that somehow we will kind of combine them in some kind of either booklet or insert in a future call. And so the whole congregation, not just those of you who are here this morning, will become aware of that. So we're going to call upon Josh, our President Josh, to come out, and also Ken, I know that, who's going to start off by relisting the former presidents, and then Josh will continue.
Thank you, Rabbi. So thanks again for everybody coming today. It's great to see everybody on this warm day in New Hampshire. Just a quick shout out to Seth Gutman and the Gutman crew. They can't make it today because of COVID. And also B'nai Birch, who's one of the three musketeers that started the book club here at Temple Israel with Ada Kucher, myself, and Larry Ekman's in Boca Raton in the sun. But just a quick, David wanted me to mention everybody that ever walked through the doors. And that gets a little, so basically, like Rabbi said at the end, if there's somebody you specifically want to mention, please do. But just some quick people: the Beatses, the Bravermans, Arnold Combs, the Davidels, Larry Ekman and his father and uncle, the Gassers, the Grubers, the Myers, the Novaks, the Rodners, the Spires, Harry Spire and the gang, the Singers and the Winthrops, David's dad and mom, Gerald and Harriet. So basically, we're going to just go through it with some people. Some people want to just say a comment after I read a little description of what they've done. And there'll be a couple of people that we'll also, the long timers here, we won't say anything else, but we'll just spell them out a little bit. So Steve Salton broke the record here and was president for 15 years. There's nothing really I can say that you don't know about him, but he's got a lot of business acumen that he brought to the temple. He's on the trust board of directors. He's very active in the cemetery committee, and he started the security, which is so important to the temple. So, Steve, do you want to say a brief word?
No.
We love you, Steve.
Shabbat Shalom. Kenny said to me when we walked in the door, would you like to say a few words? I don't think I've ever just said a few words. It's great, really great to see all these faces on a regular Shabbat. And I've been doing security for services now for a year and a half, and I stand in the back. And I can see from the back differently than if I'm sitting in the seat. You can only see the people around you. And let me tell you that with this kind of a turnout, it's impressive. There are synagogues that are not having services all over the country because of COVID, because people won't come, because of a multitude of reasons. And yet we are not only having services, but we're having a minyan every week. And we're doing it because you actively are allowing us to do it. We can put 400 people in this sanctuary, and today we have 35. There's no reason that you can't have 35 people in a large sanctuary like this and have everybody social distance and adhere to COVID rules. So anyway, it's terrific to see all these faces. We're open, we're gonna stay open because you're letting us stay open. And I thank you for the kind words, Ken.
Thanks, Steve. Next, we're going to talk about Ada Kuchar, who doesn't get as much credit as she should. Ada started a junior congregation about 20 years ago, and she made up her own siddur, which was geared to the kids. And she was actually co-president of the temple also with Maddie Gilmorton. And that was a time when we really needed somebody to step up. And she did that with Maddie. Probably, in my opinion, the greatest thing that Ada did was, originally we had a group Hebrew school with TAY. And at one point, I don't know what it was, 15 years ago, so it dissolved. And the Jewish kids from this temple needed to find a place for Hebrew school. We didn't have one. Ada single-handedly started it with a couple kids and built it up. So Ada really is responsible for a rebirth and the growth of this temple. So as we know, the Hebrew school has grown in the past few years to close to 40 students. I know it's dropped a little bit because of the COVID, but Karen Jacobs picked up the torch with Ada, and now Mark. So let's give a shout out to Ada. Maddie Gilmore worked with Ada as co-president. She chaired board meetings, made executive decisions, worked on finances with the treasurer, did fundraising, initiated rabbi searches, very active with Kiddush Lunch Committee, and active as a religious person. Howard Gross is going to come up to give a few words about his mother, Charlotte Gross, who was a past president. She was a devoted longtime member of Temple Israel along with her husband, Harold, and she was quite a person, and she is watching, I hope, on live stream. So,
yeah, my mother couldn't be here today. She is watching on live stream. I hope. Oh, sorry. She is fine, by the way. She just, the travel was too much for her. So I'm here to accept the honor which she richly deserves. My mother loved Temple Israel. She and my father, Harold, were among the original members back in 1957. She distinctly remembers coming here with me and my sister Brenda when it opened. 64 years later, she and I attended high holiday services here last September. My earliest memories of my mother's involvement here date back to the mid-60s. Junior congregation at that time was lagging. She decided, like a good Jewish mother, that the cure-all was to feed people. So under her leadership, they started serving lunch after Saturday morning services, and voila, attendance boomed. In the late 70s, early 80s, this temple faced an existential crisis. That term is overused today, but it really describes the situation. The temple was on the verge of closing. They say you could be either a lover or a fighter. But my mother was both. She didn't want to hear something. She didn't want to hear it. She took over, served as president for 10 years, and she and my father helped rehabilitate it financially through a proven strategy borrowed from our Christian brethren, bingo games. Without their tireless efforts, Sunday night after Sunday night for more than a decade, we would not be here today. Charlotte Gross thanks you for this honor from the bottom of her heart. She's watching.
okay, let's see. Who we got next? Okay, Danny Myers. I met Danny. I guess Danny was actually the first person that ever came over to me and said hello on a Friday night service going on 38 years ago. He was a president. Just going to have his daughter Carol, who's been here for a long time also, just say a couple words.
Oh, I have a little speech.
Carol, okay. Kiddush will start at 5:30.
Okay. Danny Myers happened to be my dad, and he was one of the good guys. I will tell you, if you needed help, Danny Myers was there. You never knew who would show up for meals in my house, and you never knew who he would visit and talk to when they had problems. He was just a good man who worked way too much. He took in loners and gave them a family, my little family. He may have helped many anonymously, and he kept it private. He loved me and my mother and my son Eric unconditionally. I was a difficult young woman and daughter.
Still is.
Still am. And how he did not murder me is beyond me. He came to temple and sat alone every Friday night, and he must have prayed away his problems. He adored this temple, and it was part of his heart and soul. When I got married in 1971, the downstairs room was cement walls. I was the first big wedding, and my dad wanted paneling up for the wedding, so we had it done. He hated the fluorescent lights, so we had spotlights or something to be prettier. My marriage failed, but the room became less cold and benefited from me. So as you can tell, I was and am one lucky girl. I had a special father, and though he adored this temple, I never did. It's true. I came because I was told to come. Years later, when I moved back to Manchester with my son, we joined here. I thank God every day. This temple and the combined Hebrew school gave my son a Jewish foundation that took him to Brandeis, and there he met my daughter-in-law, who is the best. I thank God every day for this temple and for giving my dad a place to pray. As I said, Danny Myers was one of the big guys.
Thank you so much, Pat. Appreciate your work. Let's see. Gerald Winthrop and his wife Harriet, incidentally, David Winthrop's dad and mom. But I didn't know him that well, but I do remember him. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit about David Winthrop. David Winthrop was bar mitzvah at Temple Israel. He went to Hebrew school here. He emerged as a true Levite and years ago, and was influenced by the various rabbis, starting with Maurice Mandel, Sheldon Krensky, who was another legend in this temple, Leon Benjamin, and of course Sandy McCurdy, I think, who had the most influence on David. David, as the Gabbai, and basically he's looking for a Gabbai in training. He's our wonderful Gabbai, and he's always super prepared. And his footprints are on many of the little things and bigger details at Temple Israel that otherwise would fall between the cracks. David!
Thank you. I was bar mitzvah here back in 71. Tell people talking to the microphone and I don't. So I was bar mitzvah here back in 1971. And at that time, the Hebrew school was actually on Mondays and Wednesday afternoon. At that time, we actually lived in Laconia. So my mom, in her trusty way, drove me down every Wednesday and Monday afternoon after regular school. In my final year, with Rabbi Klein was the rabbi here. We final year, I also had to come down on Tuesdays for my bar mitzvah lessons. So it was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. For the final few months after that, I also had to come down for Saturday services. My brother, luckily, we moved down in 74 from Laconia. So my brother only had to do that for 3 years. My sister, she was already past age, so she was back home, burning the food for me when I got home. Oh yeah, she got to be a better cook over the years. But after that, of course, I sort of fell away from the temple, like any other adolescent. And then, of course, back 12 years ago, I was looking again for more spirituality. I was lacking in it. I came back to the temple. And at those times, we had services in the chapel. And of course, my first Saturday here, Leon Benjamin had already passed away. So Sandy McCurdy would be on one side, and she asked if I would come up and be Gabbai for her on the other side. I said, sure. I'm somewhat used to seeing what's going on and know a little bit about it. Second Saturday I came in the following weekend, and of course Sheldon was still here, still alive, still kicking. He was kicking till the end. And Sandy got up on the other side, and I was sitting on one side of the pew, and Sheldon in his usual corner over there. He leans over and he goes, David, get up there and do your job. That's when I realized I volunteered to become a rabbi. And I've been doing it now for 12 years of being a rabbi. And of course, when Sandy passed away back, it's going to be close to 6 years now. At that time, it was Rabbi Eric Cohen that we had. And he was doing double duty, as I was still sitting on the inside. And eventually, I said, this is not right. So I moved over to the other side and became Rabbi Rishon. Rabbi Eric helped me out, told me what the prayers that I had to do. And I still try to do them the way Sandy used to do it. Even though with the pandemic, we've actually tried to cut down on the amount of individual mission grants that we used to give out. And hopefully we can get back to doing more of the traditional ways we used to do things. Hopefully when the pandemic eases out, whenever that happens. And of course, I want to thank everybody. Just helping out the kids for the bar and bat mitzvahs is all the thanks they really need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, very much. Just to reinforce, the biggest reason we're having this service today is to talk about the people in this temple that can step up with their time and energy. It's not always about the money, but we love the money too. Let's see. I think you guys have heard of Irving Singer and Ernest Singer, tremendous, larger-than-life patriarchs of the Singer-Sidney family. Irving was a past president, and Joy Sidney and Michael Sidney sent some remarks. Joy is really being cautious with the pandemic. Temple Israel means so much to the Singer-Sidney families. Our dear parents, Ernest and Irving Singer, gave their heart and soul to the synagogue. All my 6 brothers had their bar mitzvahs at Temple Israel, and I had my bat mitzvah here. Many of our children also had their bar and bat mitzvahs at the synagogue. Temple Israel has certainly been such an integral part of our lives. The morning union at TI is so important to us that we can pray together and that members and community members can observe Yurtzeit and say Kaddish together. We have also made friends at the synagogue over the years and the decades. We have shared so many joyous times, and we have had to share, unfortunately, sad occasions also with family and friends. Temple Israel continues to be close to our hearts and wish for its continued growth. And Joy wanted to wish everybody a happy Shabbat. Larry Eckman was not a president, but he was the first vice president, and his family is a big contributor to Temple Israel. Let's see. Gary Singer. Unfortunately, Gary can't make it. I think we all know he's fighting a fight with his health right now. Gary just said, Temple Israel is my home and dear to my heart and very important to me my entire life. Gary, we love you. If you're watching, I think everybody should say it also. So after 1, 2, and 3, let's all say, Gary, we love you. 1, 2, 3. Gary, we love you. I don't think he heard you up on the north part. What did we say? Gary, we love you. Okay. Brother Jeffrey does not drive and lives in Brookline. Jeffrey says, I have been a member of TI all my life. I had my bar mitzvah at TI 56 years ago. I am proud to have followed my dad and brother Gary as past presidents, and I have nothing but fond memories of TI. Louis Knapp is a little remembered past president. He grew up about 4 streets from me in New Jersey. Our mothers knew each other. I never met him. And he moved up here and went to law school at up in Concord. And Sheila White was the one, a longtime member. She was the one that introduced us. Lewis is in Miami Beach, and he just says, thank you to the people of Temple Israel for their generosity, and I just tried to get out of the way. Just a couple long-time members. Roberta Silverberg was a non-president, but she was a teacher in our children in the Manchester Community Hebrew School for 20 years. She did the Temple Buckle Life for many years, and she was a devoted longtime member of TI along with her husband of many years. Moving on, our 2021 Shem Tov Award was Rini Brenner. And I think you all know Rini is surely a long timer. For years, she was the secretary of the board of directors, tireless fundraiser, co-chairman of the gift shop, secretary of the sisterhood on the Kiddush crew. She made lunches and shopped. She just bought the electric can opener, which makes it easier to open the tuna fish. She is the go-to person. We love her. She's here every Saturday for services. She's here at least a minimum of 60 years. And she loves Temple Israel. And her husband, Larry, was quite a man also in his own right. Unfortunately, he passed away quite a few years ago. Let's see. All right, Josh Nathan. Josh Nathan, I appeared here, I guess, 6 years ago from Seattle. And he was a sure attendee to the services on Saturdays. And he liked to do Torah, he liked to do some Torah readings. He got very involved with the temple. He had to step into Steve Sullivan's size 18 shoes when we needed them. And he also chaired the search committee a few years ago. And we're so lucky to have him as president now. Okay, we're going to finish up now. Pearl Davido was another long-time great person at Temple Israel. She's responsible for Michael Davidow, Catherine, and Natty. Phyllis Levi'm and her husband, Jason, were longtime members. And I mentioned the Larry Ekman family. I want to give a final shout out to the committee that put this service together, Carol Sternberg. Can't say enough about Carol. She is the pillar of this temple. If anybody can learn how to help and volunteer in this temple, look at Carol's example. Runs the gift shop, runs the kitchen crew. She's here every Saturday. She's just a humble, wonderful person. Next was Rachel Spire on the committee. Rachel is also a wonderful person. She brings devotion to Judaism, to Israel, to music, and to her friendship. And she's been a long-time member with Mel. And again, Mel's dad, Harry, was one of the founding members of the temple. The first person of the year, actually. And then there's Josh on the committee, our wonderful Rabbi Gary, and myself. And I'm going to bring up Josh now to talk about all the other people that make contributions to the temple.
Shabbat Shalom. That was pretty thorough, Ken.
What's
Good
that?
job. That was very thorough.
So, Lori, over there, she's not president yet, but you can't say enough about Lori. Lori and some of the other people, she helped to rebirth this temple.
So I I don't want to speak too long, but I want to just recognize that I've been here a very, very, very short period of time. I'm like a baby in this synagogue compared to the amount of history that we've heard discussed with everybody here. And Temple Israel, when I first came here, it very much reminded me of my synagogue growing up in Phoenix, Arizona. Temple Israel is one of the first things that, and we say this all the time about Temple Israel, right, Maury, when we're talking about, up to members and prospective members, it's very Hamisha, which is, very family-like. We're warm, we welcome everybody. And everybody that's sitting here today, and some who couldn't come today that are streaming, they all intentionally reached out to by the committee because of the important role that you guys have played in sustaining Temple Israel throughout the years. And I think we've heard the history here today, and it's why we're all still sitting here. And we're all very lucky, and I'm lucky to be here as well. So I want to take a moment to just kind of point out more physically about what important roles that you guys all play. So I wanted to first have people who are on the board here today to stand up. Come on, stand up. Okay, our board. The core of what Temple Israel is today and sustaining us is represented by you guys. Teachers. Did you have time to on that? I mean, this is where it starts. The Hebrew school is so important. Mark, you've been very important in sustaining this. We don't have a future without you guys. The kids, they learn everything from you guys. If you've ever participated in a service here, reading Torah, leading part of the service, Haftorah, please stand up because you were all here today. We have cleaners, Torah readers. And then we have the all-important lunch crew that comes here a couple times a month to make sure that we have food. And that's Reedy, Carol, Ken, Danae, and I'm sure there's others that I'm missing. Yeah, Carol. Yeah. David. Merle, yes. So please stand up. I want to make sure that we also recognize Kenny. Yeah. You obviously were a linchpin in all this happening today, and it kind of originated out of your idea, and very rightfully so. Kenny, when COVID hit and everything shut down, we could be together, and we have to be together. We can't survive without being together, and we have to find ways to do that and be innovative. And Kenny was first up in helping us start to come together and be able to communicate together and socialize with the book club on Zoom. So, and that is going strong today, and we've even had a couple here in the sanctuary, and it's going to continue to grow as well. I'm excited about that. I just wanted to say it's very interesting that bingo was brought up. Because we would like to reignite the bingo and those kind of things around here. And we've been thinking about that on the board as well. The lights downstairs, Carol, those lights downstairs, the ones that aren't fluorescent, for family Shabbats, several family Shabbats, we turned only those on. And we left the fluorescent ones off because I don't like those either. So I thought, now I know the origin of those lights. But we want to improve those lights again. So we have a little bit more of the service to go today. There's more participation from you guys, and so I don't want to delay. But I always like to bring something with the Torah portion, and there's always something in the Parsha that you can bring to modern day and what the circumstances are. And one of the things that Rabbi Gary mentioned in his epistle this week was that in this Parsha, we have the first mitzvah in the Torah. Up until now, we've been hearing the story of our history and the Israelites in Egypt. But this is the first parsha where we have a mitzvah, and it's starting to surround the observance of Passover and in remembrance of the Exodus. Mitzvot are what we do to bring holiness to our community. And everybody sitting here today has participated in mitzvot to bring our community, our kahila, together. And it's so important that we recognize that everybody in here is very important in sustaining Temple Israel here and into the future. So I figured that was a nice kind of connection to the parsha. The other thing is that we have, if you have been looking in the sky, the night sky, in the last several days, you might have noted that this is there's a new moon, and so that marks the beginning of a new month in the Jewish calendar. Chodesh is the Hebrew word for month, and the root for Chodesh is chadash, which means new or renewed. And I think this is very important as part of today, and I know David wanted this to be an important aspect of what we're doing here today and honoring everybody, is that we want to renew, we want to use this service, these honors to everybody today, to renew our energy, to continue to make Temple Israel the best temple it can be, and strengthen our kahila, our community, going forward. And we need everybody in this room to continue to be involved in Temple Israel and get other people involved too, because there's many more out there and streaming that are capable of being leaders within the temple. So I want to renew. We're in a new month. We have Tu B'Shvat coming up, and I want to just connect the renewal that we have every month, but especially right now to get people involved in Temple Israel to continue our tradition. So, thank you very much, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, yeah, we got a special presentation.
Okay, so we're talking about David Winthrop and the Rabbi, and the hope that he would have someone to assist him as his term was recruited. And I want you to know that David talks to me and shares what the different things are that he does. And one of the ones that you cannot recognize that has to be done is rolling the Torah scroll from week to week, and especially to different places that when it's read not in sequence because it's a holiday reading or something like that. And it's kind of hard to do it by himself. So we thought that we should kind of make it easier for him. And if it's easier for him, maybe it'll be easier for him to recruit someone else. So, David, we have a device for one hand, one person scrolling the Sefer Torah. So hopefully make your job easier. And hopefully it won't be too hard to put it together. Okay, so thank you very much. And when we do something special, all the ways we've talked about it, we acknowledge each other, but we also acknowledge this as a special moment in our lives. So let me ask all of you to rise, and we'll say Shehecheyanu, because you are privileged to be here this morning and share in this service. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh. Oh, okay, let's sing it? Sing it. Yeah.
You guys know the song. There's a song to Shehecheyanu too.
Oh, lots of melodies.
Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh.
Pardon?
There's a fast version that you know.
Back down. Okay, please Rachel and Sarah, as we continue in just a moment, returning the Torah scroll to the ark. And there's one special, please be seated, not yet. Please, not returning yet, so please be seated for a moment. Stand, you can always stand. But okay, none of us realize, perhaps, unless we really make an attempt to it, that there is something inscribed over their own Kodesh. And it says, "Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham." We're going to read that in a few weeks as we get into the building of the tabernacle, the portable worship sanctuary in the desert. But it symbolizes that we have built this building, or those before us, as we heard, have built this building. Make me a sanctuary, and God's presence will dwell in it. And so, although we make the Kehillah, we also have the presence of God. So one of the songs that the choir did in other years was singing Asula Mikdash, and that would be our prelude to returning the Torah scroll.
Shabbat Shalom. So we would like to share a song in honor of all who give their time, their love, and their effort to make this community. Right over the ark, as the rabbi was saying, you see the words from the book of Exodus, the Asuli Mikdash Shachanti B'Tocham. God says, make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. So, it's a little bit surprising. You might expect to hear, make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in it. But no, the Torah says, create a place for me. Make room, set aside the time, have the vision. Offer your hands and your mind and your heart, your creativity and your devotion, and I'll dwell with you. I'll be right here with you. So before we sing, we'll take a moment and we can practice these words together so we can all know what it says over the ark when we walk in. The words are Ve'asuli, Mikdash, V'shachanti, B'tocham. And we make a request to be a vessel, to care for and to contribute to one another and to this world. We'll sing, Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. And with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. So let's sing together. Lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai, lai. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
So we continue now, returning the Torah scroll to the Aron. Please rise. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, in his Levi'm Yisrael. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It is more than godly. Please be seated for a moment. Before Musoff, Harry Shepler, who does many things for the congregation and the community, has a short Devar Torah, after which we will have the Musoff concluding service. I want to mention when we first planned Musoff, Rachel Spear said that she would be happy to lead as she has done on many Shabbat mornings. And then we have a bonus. Her daughter, Sarah, who is a cantor at a synagogue in Acton, Massachusetts, Beth Elohim. Apparently had a vacation week. I hope she didn't arrange it. Maybe she didn't arrange the schedule for this. I don't know. But she is here. A number of you saw Sarah grow up in the congregation. She will be assisting Ada with the special melodies that will be part of the Musoff in just a couple minutes. Harry, we're listening to you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Well, I had no idea how long we were going to go today, so I'm going to truncate my message quite a bit. I worked on it a long time, and we'll have to have another time when I can share the content fully.
We can include it in the call if you want next month.
Okay. However, this is on the Parsha bow. And bow is, in Hebrew, is Beit Aleph. And question for you, what's the numerical value of bow? Bet Aleph. President, got it? Three. And interestingly enough, there are many threes in this Torah portion. There are three different plagues. There's the locust, there's the darkness, and then there's the slaying of the firstborn. As Josh mentioned, it's also the first mitzvahs that are talked about in Torah for us. And these three mitzvahs are, first of all, the redemption of the firstborn, the laws of Passover, and third, believe it or not, tefillin comes from this Torah portion. How we're to wear it, what we're to wear. Within the three mitzvot in the Passover Seder, there are three things: the Paschal lamb, unleavened bread, and bitter herbs. And so there's a lot of threes in this parsha. One of the things that I read many commentaries on this passage before today, and there were a lot of enlightening things that I read having to do with education of our children, which is very much a part of, tell your children what happened on this day. There's also the month of Nisan is supposed to be the first month, and so there's a whole teaching on calendar and how the Jewish and the Hebrew calendar works, which is a very interesting commentary. None of them were as interesting to me as I wanted to tell you about today. So I'm very going to quickly tell you, there's a portion in the Torah that talks about taking this lamb, a yearling, bringing it into the house on the 10th of the month. And for 4 days, that lamb gets to be a part of the family. I can imagine if there are little kids that they're enjoying this little lamb inside the house, and then the father on the 14th day at twilight slaughters the lamb. And that's got to be a difficult thing to see. But then the blood of the lamb is put around the door, and when the avenging angel comes, the avenging angel will see the blood and will pass over those who have the blood on their doorway. In the movie Ten Commandments, Dathan, I think, was the bad evil guy, and Joshua came and put the blood over his door and saved him from the avenging angel, so he continued to be the evil guy in the movie. There's not much written about the significance of the blood over the doorway. And because it's in the blood, the avenging angel avoids or passes over the house of all that dwell there. And maybe I will say a little bit about that. This is one of the first teachings of Torah, and that is that it takes blood and the blood of an animal to cover us for our sins. Now, this may sound strange because it's not taught about much anymore, because we have no temple anymore, and it's very difficult to do this. But let's go all the way back to Bereshit, the 3rd chapter. Adam and Eve are kicked out of the garden, and they've eaten the forbidden fruit, and they are cursed, if you will. And in the garden, when they meet Hashem, and they ask, "Hey, Adam, where are you?" Okay, Adam and Eve have clothed themselves in fig leaves. All right, they know good and evil now. They knew they were naked, and they clothed themselves. And that was the first act in history of religion, where people on their own attempt to placate the gods, if you will. But it says at the end of that chapter that Hashem made skins for them to wear. And if you contemplate that in a minute, where did those skins come from? Most likely, they came from slaughtered animals. And Hashem himself had to do it to cover Adam and Eve. And so they were covered from the sin in the garden. The Cain and Abel, we don't know all the story about Cain and Abel. And they're fighting brothers. We had some brothers like that in our home too. But before the murder, there's a discussion about Abel was a shepherd. He had sheep, and Cain was a farmer. He had vegetables. And they came one day to give their sacrifice to the Lord. And Hashem was very upset with Cain because the sacrifice that he brought was vegetables, because that's what he did as a farmer. And God was unpleased with that. On the other hand, Abel's sacrifice was acceptable to him. And Hashem warns Cain. He said, sin is at the door. All you have to do is obey, and you're going to be covered. So this comes kind of as a hint very early on. In the book of Leviticus, there's a sentence that I want to read to you. It says, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have assigned it to you for making expiation for your lives upon the altar. It is the blood as life that affects expiation." Now, we know that Hashem told Noah that life was in the blood. We know that Noah took 7 clean animals with him on the ark, and he sacrificed them after they were out. Okay, there are multiple references in Torah to all the patriarchs making a sacrifice, building an altar, and making a sacrifice unto Hashem. And the blood was to cover them for their sin. In the Mishkan and later in the temple, the whole thing revolved around sacrificing an animal. And to tell you a little bit about the custom in the temple, many times when my wife and I go to a guest's house for dinner, we will bring a bottle of wine or something to come in. Well, Hashem had his rules about what you're supposed to bring in when you come into his presence. And it is an animal that's to be slaughtered and burned on the altar. The next thing that we often do when we come in someone's home is we see some painting on the wall, or we see a piece of furniture, or we see a sculpture or something, and we praise them for what they have acquired. Or maybe just pointing out the new hairdo or whatever. But in coming into Hashem's presence, the next thing you do is make a grain offering. And it's a thanksgiving offering, and it's a praise to him or something. And then the third offering is a sin offering. And blood is spilled, is put on the altar, and it is to cover the sin of a person. So at Yom Kippur, there are 2 goats. One of them, as we know, hands are laid on by the priest, and off to Azazel that goat goes. They said in later times to make sure that goat died, they would take it to the cliff and throw it off the cliff. But the other goat was slaughtered on the altar as a sin offering. And so it's unfortunate that now that the temple is gone, there's no way to make this kind of sin offering anymore. One thing that still exists today in some circles, and I'm not advocating or saying there's something wrong with it, but the chicken, which is slaughtered before Yom Kippur, and the blood is sprinkled around, because there's some innate sense that it takes blood of an animal to cover sin. And we don't really, other than that, we have no way currently of doing it. However, fortunately, back when Shmuel was a prophet, and he anointed Saul as king, and Saul disobeyed by not killing all the things and animals he was supposed to. So Shmuel had mentioned, he says, does Hashem delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obedience to Hashem? Surely obedience is better than sacrifice, compliance than the fat of rams. Now this idea follows straight through with the prophets that appear in our Tanakh after the fall of the temple, the destruction of the temple. And I will read just a couple of verses. Never mind, I'm not should practice her now. So I'll stop there, but to say that there's something on Tisha B'Av that we can really mourn, and that is that we don't have the way to cover sin as we are instructed to in Torah. However, many of the later prophets said that obedience is better than sacrifice, and the prophets said that we are to live a life pleasing to God. How do you do that? We're to lead a righteous life. The Torah teaches us that we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we remember what the prophets in the Torah told us. I'm summarizing here. We're to remember the poor and the oppressed, the down and out, the orphan and the widow. You read Rabbi Gary's epistle that was emailed to us on Thursday. He calls on us to help the stranger in our land. And also, as Jews, we should always be dedicated to personal growth and character improvement. And this is the way that we find ourselves in good standing with Hashem. Let us remember that we have work to do towards a repair job, and let's make this a better world.
Thank you. Mary Yashikova, thank you for sharing your study and your wisdom. Okay, we're going to continue with the Gustav service. Let Rachel and Sarah and Ada to come up. They'll be introducing some of the melodies that they'll be doing, both ones that are familiar from before, and part of which Sarah does in her pulpit. So, Gustav service will begin. Are you going to talk first? Okay.
Shabbat Shalom. And Sarah, Ada, Penny, and I are very glad to be and honored to be leading Musa at this very special Shabbat obedience service. We're very happy to see all of you here with us and hope that you will join your voices to ours as you can. I'm going to explain what we're going to be doing with the Musaf, and then you just follow along. It's a lot of information, just to give you a preview. We're going to begin with the Hatzi Kaddish, which is on page 155. And then we're going to continue with the Amidah, chanting the Avot, the Gvurot, and the Kedusha aloud together on pages 156b and 157. At the top of page 157, Cantor Sarah will be chanting the Na'aritzka prayer using a beautiful original melody which she composed. And we fondly call it the Na'aritzka waltz. And as you hear it, you'll see why. And we'll be ending the Kedusha with a special version of the Dor Badur, which some of you longtime TI members may remember from our high holiday choir, which we had during the late 1990s when Sarah was our cantorial soloist. The choir started with 3 members and grew to 9 singers over the few years that we had it, some of whom are here today. And the 4 of us, we were hoping a few others would be here, but hopefully they're watching, like Lisa Angelini, for example. Ada Kucher is here singing with us from the Beamer, and we give a shout out to him also. It was during those high holiday services many years ago, while leading prayers from the Spema, that Sarah decided she wanted to become a cantor. And she's been doing that formally since 2007. After we finish the Kedusha, please continue with the silent Amidah on your own, ending on page 161. We can go. Shabbat Shabbalim Zelazem, Kivoja Omaleo. Shabbat Shabbalim Zelazem, Aye, Aye, Aye, Aye, Aye, from Kivoja. Aye, aye, aye, from Kivoja. Baruch Yomei, Baruch Kevod Adonai V'Yikol. Shema Omri, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshiach. Please continue with the silent coming down now up through 161. If you're in the middle of the silent Amidah, please continue at your own pace. And if you're finished, please join us for the singing of Odim Anak Lulav, which is on page 159. This was a favorite of our beloved Rabbi Sandy McCurry, Zichrono Livracha, whom you've heard many words about, many loving words about today. And we sing this piece in her memory, this prayer. And following Modim, we will end the Amidah with the traditional version of Oseh Shalom, which is on the last two lines of page 161. And it will be the traditional version, perhaps with a little bit of conflict. Okay, please join us as you can for Modim Adafullah. Modim Adafullah, Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elokei Avotenu, Ve'olam Va'ed, Tzur Chayinu, Magin Ishenu, Atahu Le'dor Vador, Noten Lecha, Unsaber Tehilatecha, Al Chayinu, Hamasurim B'yadecha, V'al Nishmotenu, Habib Ujala, V'al Nisecha, Shecha Yomimanu, Yomim Le'otecha, V'tov Otecha, Shecha Erev Avotim, V'tov Orali.
Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem Israel. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu Yaakov Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu Yaakov Yisrael. Amen. We now continue with the Kaddish Shalem on page 181. We continue with Ein Elohim, that means we're close to the end, right? On page 182. Please join in. You may be seated. Ein Elohim, Ein Elohim, Ein Elohim, Ein Moshiach, Ein Elohim. Please rise for Elena, page 183.
Please be seated. The archetypes of the following individuals will be commemorated at the service and during the coming week. Beatrice Carras, Jacqueline Feinberg, Anna Dorsey, Leon Rosenberg, Joe Lorak, Joel Cohen, Sadie Falk, Anna Gross, Rose Fitzkowitz, Robert Yoakman, Yetta Myers, Bill Plotkin, Dr. Robert Weissman, Isaac Seviak, Samuel Feinberg, Edmund Cardoon, Harold Lanfield, Ida Levi'm, Harry Lewis, Nina Bayer, Leon Mandel, and Molly Shield. Members of the families who may be present, all in the period of mourning, commemorating a yard site. All who wish to say Kaddish for those of them out there, just no one else to say Kaddish for them. We continue with Mourners Kaddish, page 184. Be Kadal, be Kadash, May Rabah. Yamad, Yirach, Yirotei, Yamlis, Malotei. V'chayechom, v'yachom, v'chayei, v'chol beit Yisrael. V'avalot b'zman karib b'romein. Yehi Shmei Rabah B'varach, V'lam V'alei V'ayom. Yet Barach, Yishabach, Yisbalar, Yishabach, Yisnaseh, Yitadar, Yitalem, Yitalom, Shmei, Kudashah, Barechu, Le'elo, Mikol, Berchaka, Meshiraka, Mishpahaka, Nechamaka, Ne'aviram, Yamam, Yekru, Amen. Yahei Shalom Rabba, Min Shemaya, B'chayim Aleinu, Ya'ako, Yisrael, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Min Ramah, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Hallelujah, Lord Israel, Hebrew, Amen. Please be seated. Number birthdays coming up this week. Happy birthday to Eddie Krusher, Colin Moshevsky, Paul Schill, Rodney Cole, Debbie Manning, Marie Basket. Happy 25th anniversary to Sharon and Rabbi John Barak. Condolences to Jeff Klein and family on the death of his mother, Sammy Klein, Zichronah Lebracha. Welcome to a new family in the congregation, Bartlett family, parents Tehila and Brady, and children Asher and Avery. Everyone's invited to Kiddush immediately after services. Next Shabbat, in two Shabbat mornings on the 22nd. Next service at 10 o'clock, we have Dr. Mitchell Weinberg, who is the assistant medical examiner for the state of New Hampshire, forensic pathologist, and he will be talking especially on the difficulty of his challenging job in sharing news with parents of children who unfortunately have prematurely died. There was an article about this in the Manchester Union Leader a few weeks ago. You can probably look it up and still read about it. That should be interesting 2 weeks from this morning. Next Friday evening, January 14th, Shabbat service at 6 p.m. with a Tu B'Shvat dinner and service. RSVPs certainly by the weekend. And Friday, January 28th, 6:30 p.m. next Shabbat morning service. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared and stayed. We'll have Kiddush after, followed by a special lunch downstairs afterwards. So, the choir has one more chance to lead us.
I just wanted to mention too that in the past few months we've begun something called a Simcha Circle, a joy circle in Acton. And I wanted to invite everybody here to join. It's all over Zoom, so it's on Monday night from 7 to 7:45, and we sing, and there's a little bit of a wisdom teaching, and it's a really great time. So there's actually flyers on the back, so thank you so much to Christine for printing those out, and to see all the information right there. Thank you. So, Adonai, it's one of those very flexible poems that fits with almost any melody. And so we'd like to end the service with a melody that fits the celebration today. And I think to myself, what a wonderful show. Adonai, Shema, V'terkoin tzirnira, Li'nasa, V'etzoko, Azai melech, Shemo nikra, Mi'acharei, Lo takon, Levato, Lo hara, Lehu hayam, Lehu open, Lehu igen, V'tikara, Lehu echad v'yimsheni, Le'amshiro, Le'afrina, Le'lireshi, Ve'litachlit, Ve'lo'ahoz, Ve'amisah, Ve'ureili, Ayovani, Ve'tzorcheli, Eitzara, Yemunisi, Umanosli, Ve'akosi, Ve'yom ekra, Ve'atoach iruti, Ve'tisham v'yayima, Ve'imruti, Yemirati, Adonai li, Ve'ro'ira. And I think to myself, what a wonderful show.
Shabbat Shalom. Don't forget, Very good. Super good.
Oh, God. My father said, staying back over there, all of this money. Back,
It's hard to see.
the singer said.
Later is when you have this and then it's.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They had it.
We did it. We had a side area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there it goes.
My dad's had a long.
Oh, yeah.
You get a lot of people, or you're not?
No, we are actually.
You get a lot of people.
We're in the time ago. Yeah, we just started getting more, like now we have 30, 40. Yeah, so, but
Roberta Foster is going to
it's
check.
all on YouTube.
You know, you want to.
You go here. Oh, yeah.
How are you?
How about you? You home, you working from home?
Yes.
You like it?
No.
You do not like it?
No.
So I want you to join in with us.
You don't see any people. Barbara, do you need help?
No. Carol, I love your.
My sister's very strict.
That's really.
I was forced. It wasn't like I came because I wanted.
And you're able to take you through all those words, but this is because I got you.
I learned nothing. I don't know Hebrew, I couldn't have been talking because we were all boys.
Yeah, you said that.
I didn't like boys back then. I'm gonna go down and eat now.
I had a roommate who in college, Joyce, who there was a shed down the street from her. And she went by herself as a young child. Her parents never went. And Joyce fell in love with a guy who was a neighbor. Okay, he wasn't Jewish. And her parents were so upset.
Congratulations.
And yet
I love your.
they never did anything. She just spoke on herself. She wanted to put
You got a lot more to say, too.
I have no idea you remember during your kid.
Again, we started in the August of 71. So actually, we started in August of 67. With the truck out from the corner. The mom did not realize that I can't be sick of right now. Because you kept feeding me polio and something cool. You get into it back then, you had to provide. She's really pushing it back. And these are big, boats and cars, you know?
Yeah,
Big cars with big. Never realized, Mom, pull it over.
Oh, wow.
Never realized that.
And then like years later, you're like, oh.
Oh, no, I knew why.
Oh, you're laughing so
But
long.
it's like you had to keep bringing Oreos and Coca-Cola, then you make some like nice little sandwich with water. And so just feed me some sugar. Yeah, exactly what I mean.
You would have loved that. You would have looked forward to getting to school just for that.
Unfortunately, I'm on the rides home. It's either in the winter of 68, I'm not quite sure exactly where it was. We ended up in a very bad car accident. If you know the area between here and the corner, we were going the back way for a change. Up to Concord, by way of Route 3, pick up Route 106, if you're going to Concord, coming up to Laconia. And at the intersection of 106 and 114, another intersection, we got T-bone. We had this blinking yellow light. There's now a set of real lights there. We had the blinking yellow light. They had the red blinking red light. They ran it. T-bone us. And through the years, we've actually found out or realized that's where my brother's mental health problems started.
Oh my goodness.
His brother was in the car in the front seat. He didn't wear seatbelts at that time.
Oh God.
Didn't have to.
Yeah.
Even no shoulder belts. It was just,
Right.
I'm in the back seat. He ended up underneath the dashboard and he was out.
Oh my God.
He actually hit the windshield. Which again, his problems didn't manifest themselves until junior high. And unfortunately, back in 07, his kidney actually took his life. He spent many years down at the same hospital system down here in Massachusetts. And it was inevitable. Mental health disease is a terrible thing, especially from a hit injury like that.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that's what brought me back to the temple. That type of situation put me in a very bad stupor, especially after losing my mom, my father, and my mother, no more than 7 years before that. So I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of stupid things. I got caught by a sobriety checkpoint. It was actually God stamping on me, put the tapping on the shoulder and going, "You stupid? Are you crazy? You really want to beat me that much?"
Oh.
That's actually a simple thing.
Oh my God.
Some good came out of it. It's causing me.
Yeah.
You turn this off now.